Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of Evan shines, and often his gold complexion dims, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course, untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe, or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee.
I am not in the business of intentional confusion, so bear with me as I unintentionally confuse you for the next few minutes. Shakespeare is one of those writers who, when often read, gives you the opportunity to stand back, glance up, place a large grin on your face, and proudly exclaim, "I know some of these words." But seriously, the only time we 21st century teenagers ever have to read Shakespeare is because either A, we have to for educational purposes, B, someone made us, C, there wasn't a Spark Notes over it, or D, you're an English freak, like me. We often recognize Shakespeare for some of his most famous works, such as King Lear, or The Taming of the Shrew, or Hamlet, or one of my personal favorites, Romeo and Juliet. But we often forget about the 154 sonnets that he also wrote back in the early 17th century. His 18th sonnet, titled by Society, A Summer's Day, describes the eternal love that Shakespeare had for a certain girl. However, much like after 400 years, we still don't know if it is to be or not to be. We still don't even know who this chick, or if it even is a chick, is. He could be personifying a summer's day for all we know, and the metaphor is in fact not a metaphor. You see, guys, it's questions like these that make Shakespeare, Shakespeare. He's the perfect example that literature belongs to the reader, not the teacher. You could, in fact, interpret Sonnet 18 in such a way that represents this visual representation that I'm about to put right on the screen. But for the purpose of providing an even reasonably acceptable analysis, I will not be using this visual representation. If it means anything, the music you heard in the background of my visual cinematic endeavor is a music piece composed by Vivaldi in his compilation of the 4 seasons. The particular season I used was summer. Hopefully one day in the afterlife I can apologize to Sir Vivaldi for accommodating my grade Z material with his grade A perfection. I would also like to acknowledge my most loyal friend in providing me with an unlimited amount of resources even at 3 o'clock in the morning, Google. The video was finalized with my other good friend for creating media projects, Sony Vegas Pro. Let's not forget about Audacity for making my voice sound way more dramatically manly than it actually is. And for my final bestowments of gratitude, I would also like to thank my sister and cousin for helping me with the casting and camera work. Thank you guys. You're awesome. So, back to Sonnet 18. Luckily, I don't have to explain the meaning for the title because, well, frankly, it doesn't have one. This poem is relatively easy in regards to literary interpretation. Shakespeare said it himself, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" He is comparing someone to something. If you did not catch that metaphor, I am concerned for your soul. I am kidding. But on a side note, why a summer's day? You see, beautiful people, summer is the winter of my discontent. If I was a pretty girl, I'd rather be compared to a spring day or autumn day, but summer is just too hot. Perhaps Shakespeare had a vision into the future to understand the modern-day vernacular of the term hotness, and has so, in an elegant and beautiful way, said that this girl is hot. And I don't mean fire hot. Shakespeare doesn't just stop there, however. He says that this girl is more than just a summer's day. I should hope so. a summer's day and a girl are, quite frankly, two completely different things. Way to realize that, Shakespeare. And then, of course, there is a line that says, rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, which, quite frankly, I don't even know why he wrote that in there. It doesn't make any sense to me, to be quite honest. Well, rough winds are maybe the ambitions that shake new ideals that could represent the darling buds of May. Or maybe they are just the darling buds of May. I like that better, too. Then, of course, there's a line that says, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. This line has a lot of meaning and could be interpreted in various ways. Some interpretations, however, would make lines such as, and every fair from fair sometimes declines mean something completely different, so I won't even bother to go into that. So therefore, to preserve my time and yours, perhaps we can settle on the agreement that nature's unchanging course is perhaps trying to represent the uncontrollable nature of the girl, ? Or that whatever Billy old Shakespeare is comparing a summer's day to is perhaps not subject to any form of control. And then there is, of course, the couplet at the end that is arguably one of Shakespeare's most brilliant couplet ever written. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. To put this more finely, as long as humanity exists, so will this poem give life to the girl. Now I know we have unnecessarily just paraphrased a couple of lines in Sonnet 18, but there are still two things yet to accomplish: tone and theme. Generally, I'd say that the tone in this poem is very hopeful, encouraging even. The idea Shakespeare believes his poetry could in fact give eternal life to a girl is something that requires a lot of faith. And then we have the theme, which quite honestly is very simple. Nature fades, but art is immortal. Though beautiful at moments in time, everything in nature enjoys only but a moment of perfection. In time, every virtue will be destroyed, every potential beauty swept away by nature's unchanging course. And although physicalities are so temporal, the poetry of William Shakespeare will end only when mankind ceases to exist. And now for bad news. You will all die. Hopefully not anytime soon. Now, of course, we don't always like to think about that moment or instance in our life. But is it because we truly fear the inexistence of ourselves? Or is it something more that we fear? Perhaps Shakespeare spoke for all of us by introducing the notion that we may not exactly fear death, but that we fear the consequences of death. The fear that the great perhaps that we try to achieve our entire life will mean nothing in the years to come, lost in the continuum of forever. This is Shakespeare's ultimate purpose: to disregard this lamentable notion and to give meaning to human life, or perhaps to even birth life from human death. To encourage us in such a way to make the great perhaps that we strive to achieve worthy of eternal salvation, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see. Indeed, this is more than just a comparison to a summer's day to a girl. This is a comparison to a summer's day and our great perhaps, the purpose of our life. Best wishes, and don't forget to be awesome.